It's showtime.
Goes with moves, babe.
Welcome back, y'all, to the Show. I'm your host with the most, the ghost with the most. Host,
Host with the most this time.
ghost, okay. The ghost with the host ghost. I'm Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime and cousin extraordinaire, Landon. How's it hanging, man?
Make my millennium. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good enough.
Good enough. Yeah, that's what happens when you work on a Saturday, It
Yeah.
throws it
Yeah.
all off.
Didn't hear a single thank you either? No, I'm just
Well,
kidding.
on behalf of everyone, thank you for your
Oh,
hard
thank
work
you.
yesterday.
Hey, you know what? It was my pleasure.
I
Not in
want
the
you
sense that like I work
that
at
you enjoyed it.
Chick-fil-A and I actually
Oh,
enjoyed it. No. Um, dude, I had to give a presentation like
oh,
to a group of people and tell them how to take care of themselves when they're stressed out.
did
Who
they?
am I to give that kind of information?
Was there a standing ovation at the end?
No. You know what? My PowerPoint completely screwed up. We were gonna play Family Feud. None of the sound effects worked, none of the animations worked. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, I get that. I once did a speaking venture. I went on this cruise ship and had this presentation, and my technology didn't work very well with the cruise ship, and so I had to wing it. But then it turned into like a forum of question, answers, complaints, and I was like, "Oh, PowerPoint, how I miss thee." So, what do you do? What do you do? You know what you do? You go and see a lighthearted movie, and you have expectations purely wrapped up in nostalgia so that you can enjoy it. That's exactly what you do.
Would this be a lighthearted movie? All right. Well, today's ghoulishly good topic. I've got to remind our amazing viewers and listeners alike to subscribe. You gotta like the video, subscribe to it, smash all that bell icon thing, as the kids say. That way you'll be the first to know when we drop our latest and greatest content.
That's
Trust me,
right.
you don't want to miss out. So yes, today we are tackling a sequel that has literally been decades in the making. We're talking about the recently released horror comedy extravaganza, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Landon,
Don't
are
say
you
it
ready to get
again.
weird?
Don't say it again.
No,
Just
no,
two
no. It's twice.
times.
I'm gonna say it a bunch of times. I'm gonna
Yeah.
constantly like it's going back and forth. What do you need? What do you need?
When did you see it?
Yeah, no. When did I see it? One afternoon this week. This whole week has just been a big blur of just nonsense.
Well, that's good because the movie was nonsense in a great way. I saw it just a little bit ago. I saw it at like right after church, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. I want to hear what you think. What are
Palate
your
cleanser after church.
a palate cleanser after church? Absolutely. You know, it was almost like an asp bite to the neck. Asp, asp bite,
That was a weird one there for a second.
asp bite. It's
Okay,
hard to say.
thank you for separating those words in
Asp,
an appropriate way.
asp bite. So, so yeah. So, what do you think of the movie?
All right, so Beetlejuice. I don't know where to start. It's been 36 years since the original Beetlejuice graced our screens, and I've got to say, I was both excited and nervous about this movie. Um, and I wanted to ask your initial thoughts before I started giving
Oh,
mine. But
sure.
it was interesting. I'll go there with it. I wasn't 100% impressed, but I wasn't 100% disappointed either.
Yeah,
It
totally
was it
fair.
was entertaining. Um, was it worth the 36-year wait? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. The you know the story was better than I thought they could have come up with. I think I wasn't sure what to expect. with, this far off. And really, I mean, you look back at the original one, and yes, it's titled Beetlejuice, and he is the title character, but
It's
it's
not
not
about
about
it.
him.
They
It's
should have called
not
it
his
the
movie.
Maitlands, or they should
Right.
have called it, some sort of like fun haunted house movie. It's
I
like
mean, just go ahead and call it Handbook for the Recently Deceased and be done with it.
that, right? Yeah, no, this one was far more had Beetlejuice in it, and was well in a good way. I'm with you though. I actually thought while the plot could have been worse, it could have been better too. There
Oh
was
yeah.
some needless characters like that were it kind of walked a little bit of a line, like the villain lady was it was very, very shallow character. Appreciated learning the backstory of Beetlejuice. Appreciated that, but her character was
In time,
just,
who doesn't love seeing Monica Bellucci on screen?
of course, even stapled up. It was
Right.
a funny line. He's like, "You're well put together." You know what I mean? That was a good line. Coming into it, I'm an enthusiast with this stuff, unless we're talking about Shazam. Um, so I have to say, like, I came into it expecting it to be lighthearted and fun and something that my kids would enjoy, and my kids really both enjoyed it a lot. Um, but there were elements in it that I thought were just, like it was a bit too much and didn't need the Willem Dafoe character, really. Didn't need the priest singing and moving his mouth in a funny way when he was being possessed and singing was more enjoyable than that character. Um, and of course, the villainess, it's almost like she was only inserted to have a plot pillar. It was only for that, and there wasn't any depth to it at all. I found that the plot part about the boy ghost, the murder house, was far more a better tale, and if they had put more time into that and
Yeah.
made that more of they just try to do a little too much, I think, and that would have been a better way to focus, you
Yeah.
know?
That was I felt yeah, that was a lot more compelling um a part of the story than obviously the Monica Bellucci stuff. Um all right, so I do want to assure everybody we're gonna try to stay as spoiler free as we can.
Oh,
Um
whoops.
if we do need to discuss any major plot points, we'll give you a heads up, all right? Um, so okay, so it's great. We I want to start with let's talk about the returning cast. So obviously we've got Michael Keaton back as the ghost with the most, Beetlejuice himself. What did you think of Keaton's performance coming back to this role 36 years later? Did he
I
still
thought he
have that
did
manic
great.
energy that we
100%.
all loved from the original?
100%. Honestly, he I mean, he is Michael Keaton's character, and he did it fantastic.
Hmm.
And he added new elements to it when he was doing like the marriage counseling and stuff like that. That was hilarious. Him being like in middle management, was funny. I thought I thought it was great. He could not, to me, have done better than he did.
I couldn't agree more. It's like he slipped back into that striped suit, like he never left it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. And same thing with Winona Ryder. I thought Winona Ryder, because Winona Ryder just, I mean, she is herself. She, it doesn't matter who it is. She's the mom in Stranger Things, and she was, from Alien Resurrection, and she's Lydia Dietz, and that's just who she is, right? She was the original Kristen Stewart, so it's like she
I don't
just is
know.
being,
That's kind of
no,
insulting.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. But you know what I mean. Like she's got her way of being, and I thought she did great. As did, what's her name? That Catherine O'Hara. She did the same thing with her eyes when she talked. Like, it was so hilarious. When she gets to a point, she's trying to address something. She talks like this, and then she opens her eyes. She doesn't look at somebody when she's criticizing them. She does that same eye closed, fluttering thing. And I was like, you did it all these years later. You're the same character. It's
Yeah.
great.
It's so funny to see somebody who's that good at what they do come back and embody the same character that they played so long ago, and
Yeah.
to still like pick up those same mannerisms because it's not like she's playing Catherine O'Hara, just being like, it's not like watching Melissa McCarthy, right? Who
Right.
is just basically Melissa McCarthy in a
Right.
different role every movie
Right.
she's in.
Right.
This is, I mean, you're talking about, this is somebody who's gone from uh Beetlejuice to Home Alone to Schitt's Creek and back to Beetlejuice, and it's like, how are you doing this? How are you able
So versatile. It's
to
amazing.
just bring back these little nuances of this character?
It's amazing.
It really speaks to just her talent as a comedic actress. And she's, I mean, she really is. I think one of the best, and of
Underrated.
her generation. I would say uh underestimated
Yeah, I think
actresses.
so. I think so.
Um,
A lot of
I
people just know
obviously
her as
she
Harry.
did get a lot of critical critical
Acclaim.
approval, I guess, from her role on Schitt's Creek, but
Right.
at the same time, it's like audiences just don't. It's like they don't pick up on how brilliant she is
Oh
and
yeah.
can be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Um,
No, I thought she did great. Yeah, I already kind of said about the other ones. It was cool seeing Danny DeVito at the beginning. That was nice. But I thought Justin Theroux did good. I think he's just talented, I think, in my opinion. But um yeah, I felt pretty
he's
good
got his
about
moments.
all of it. What?
Yeah, I said he's definitely got his moments. I was gonna ask, what do you think about Jenna Ortega stepping in as Lydia's daughter, Astrid?
Um, I
Yeah,
thought she was an appropriate character, and so, we had Wednesday Adams and she came in, and I mean, it was a fitting connection with to connect her with Winona Ryder. I mean, she definitely fits that typecasting willingly and wantingly,
hmm
right now, and I think that was good. I was super impressed with the acting of the boy. Like I thought that he played that role very well.
the kid that played Jeremy.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that, and a lot of it because his character reminds me of the lead character in the show You. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
he could have been his brother or son. Just
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities there.
so and it wasn't like it was. I mean, the first without spoiling. I don't know if we want to do spoilers, but I immediately knew that spoiler 5 4 3 2 1. I immediately knew that he was dead. I just the second we met him, you know but then we didn't see the parents, then I knew that their faces, then I was like, all right, something's gone down.
Who gave it away at first?
The fact that they never, like, you had hair of the mom and you had hair of the dad that when they passed by. Are you talking about when I knew that he was dead, or that?
Yeah, yeah. Because you said you knew that before the whole
Oh,
parent
right.
thing.
Um, his when she crashed in the tree and he looked down, and then he said that his they won't, like, he brushed off his parents. He said something like they won't mind or they won't notice or anything like that. Just something like that. That was pretty quick. So I leaned over to my wife and I was like, he's dead. Which at this
Yeah.
point it's kind of a jerk thing to do. But we're best friends for all these years, so she just knows to expect it. You?
Um.
When did you feel it?
Well, once you got into the whole parent thing, that was, I think, made it obvious.
Right.
I don't think I picked up on it as quickly as you did.
He
Um,
it
but
just the whole
I don't
sixth
know.
sense. We're all ever since Sixth Sense, right? You just kind of get this, if something's off, you're like, oh, they're dead. You know what I mean? Yeah,
That's
it's
definitely a dead dude. I mean,
oh,
usually they give it away with like a big scar or something, but
right. I didn't expect the part about the murder house. That I didn't have any tells on. I didn't feel like there were tells. But I did purposefully, when they were in the attic, I kept looking for things that might indicate maybe is his room got stuff from the 50s, or you saw that the era was like 2 decades ago for stuff, but it's hard to say if somebody's just nostalgic, right?
Man. All right, so I do want to talk about how this sequel compares to the original. You got Tim Burton back in the director's chair, and you can really feel that signature Burton weirdness throughout the film. But at the same time, it does feel fresh and modern. So, do you think they struck a good balance between nostalgia and innovation?
I do. I mean, they first of all, you had the scenery in itself was its own character, and I thought that both in the regular world in the town and then also in the afterlife. And I really appreciate it when someone makes the scenery a character, and you can feel that. That ties nostalgia well. I also feel like there were themes, like when she was riding her bike and she was almost getting hit by cars and stuff. It really takes you back to that little moment on the bridge with the Maitlands, right? And so then she crashes through the fence, which is, them crashing through the wood wall of the bridge. So there were things like that along the way. Yeah, I thought it was good. And Beetlejuice, they really I thought they did good with him and introducing him. They did the part about the Maitlands. They just kind of wrote that part off. I felt
Yeah.
like they were really trying to with Jeffrey, oh, what's his last name? The dad.
Yeah.
Uh I felt like they did a really good job about like honoring him, you know what I mean? Which was
Yeah.
really cool. So, but I felt it was good. Did you feel like it was a good balance of nostalgia?
I did. Again, you go into something like this and it almost feels like it's being made simply because it is nostalgia bait.
Yeah.
But I do think that overall, that it was an entertaining film in its own right. Um, I'm not saying that you could watch this one without having seen the first one.
Yeah.
It would not make sense.
Jeffrey
Um,
Jones. Sorry, Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Jones.
Jones, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, of course, he is still alive. He is not in Hollywood's inner circles anymore.
Do you think that, well, so here's I'm glad you said that because after the movie I looked up and saw he was still alive. I actually thought that it was that he was dead. So when I was watching the movie, I just thought to myself, oh, the actor must have died or something because they're being so honoring, for him and his character. Why did why do you think he wasn't in it?
Well, he stepped away from Hollywood several years ago after some scandal.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. I can't
Really?
remember. I can't remember the details of the scandal. I want.
They pulled a Crispin Glover on us from Back to the
I
Future
mean,
2.
yeah, yeah. So they used his likeness. I know that for sure. But it wasn't. Like he is kind of blacklisted at this point.
Really? Well, the last
Yeah.
thing I saw him in was a long time ago. It was Devil's Advocate. So, wow. So I
Yeah.
wondered.
He
I
did.
thought that maybe he had, but I mean, wow. Yeah.
I think the most recent thing I remember seeing him in was and I'm sure he's been in other things since then, but was in Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
Oh,
He was
right.
he
Yeah, I
was the
did see that.
Reverend in
Right,
that
right, right.
back in, but that was back in '98. So it's been 25 years since he's been. If that was the last mainstream film he did,
Oh my gracious.
is that something we don't want to talk about on the
It
podcast?
is something we don't want to talk about.
I thought
It is.
so. That's why I was
Oh my
being kind of vague
gosh.
about it being a, yeah. It was it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And he was
Wow.
I can't remember if he was arrested and convicted or if it
Pled,
was
pled, pled no contest.
no contest. There you go. That's what you do in
Wow.
Hollywood.
Wow. I
Um
so retraction, obviously not honoring him, but honoring the character of Charles,
yeah,
you know?
you when you don't have the actor to be there, um and it's not like you're trying to pull a let's find a way to honor Chadwick Boseman in the sequel here.
Right.
This is a guy who sincerely screwed up his life, and is no longer in acting circles for a reason. And so,
Wow.
when you want to explain away his character, you kill him off screen, and you do you do what you can with the story.
That's just horrible. Well, I do think that the movie, switching gears, I think that the movie did focus in on fatherly roles between both him and Jenna Ortega's father. And I wanted to ask you what you thought about when they met the father, because I didn't enjoy that very much. I thought it was weak. Um,
I agreed. When they introduced his character, I was like, really? Is this something we need at this point in the movie?
right.
Like
And
it
it's
almost
just
felt
like,
like it was needless emotional baggage.
right. I thought
Um,
it was that way too. And not to mention the fact that just, him being eaten by piranhas and just, it's almost like, oh, cool, I got to see my dad. Well, back to your little desk job, Dad. You know what I mean? I guess I'll never
yeah,
see you again. It just was so bland. It was weak. It was so weak and really disappointing. I would say that if there's anything that really bothered me about the movie, it's how they handled that part more than
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. Well, before
And
we wrap up our main discussion, I want to touch on the film's themes a little bit. So obviously the original Beetlejuice dealt with death, family, and finding your place in the world. The sequel expands on those themes, I think, in some really interesting ways. But without giving too much away, I was particularly moved by how they handled the concept of legacy and how our relationships evolve over time. What do you think? Were there any themes or messages in the film that resonated with you?
yeah, I mean, I also think that it was touching on being a bit of a sellout, on things. And the irony of all of it is that Lydia sells out to doing hosting a show, right? She doesn't really care about doing or anything like that. She
Mhm.
and she overcomes that by in the end stepping away from it, right?
Right.
Um, the daughter, Astrid, she is already trying to have go to conferences to try to talk about the health of the world and all that stuff. And she thinks her mom's a fraud, doesn't believe in the whole, ghost thing at all. And it's interesting that she is, you know, I guess standing against the thing that's the most true of the movie. You know what I mean? Which is that there are ghosts in the afterlife and all that stuff too. Whereas, the stepmom, she is being herself, right? She is completely in her own world and funnily enough gets her fame. So I look at it and I say, part of it still addresses identity, but this one talk more about like true identity. You have Thoreau's character who is being fake the entire time, and even when he's trying to comfort Astrid, not really, but he goes through three very clearly different methods of trying to comfort her just to manipulate her, just like he's doing with Lydia. And so
Hmm.
I think that there's a whole thing about identity still, but more than just finding identity, like it's getting past false identity or fake identity. So I thought that was an important theme.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for our pop culture pulse, where we catch you up on the latest happenings in the entertainment world. Unfortunately, we actually have some sad news to report today. Chad McQueen, son of the legendary Steve McQueen, and known for his role as Dutch in The Karate Kid, one of the Cobra Kai original five guys that beat up on Daniel, he passed away on Wednesday in Palm Springs at the age of 63.
Hmm.
So that was pretty sad. He unfortunately he never made an appearance on Cobra Kai the series when the rest of the Cobra Kais showed up in their cameos. Um, but that's I mean that was simply because he had stepped away from acting altogether
Yeah. Okay.
in his real life, and so he opted not to come back. And it's funny because his character in Karate Kid always seemed like the most troubled and the most violent and angry of the five main Cobra Kai gang. Um, and so when they didn't bring his character back or couldn't bring his character back for Cobra Kai, they explained it away as, oh, he's in prison. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if they address this now. Um, we've still got 10 episodes left in Cobra Kai, but I'm fairly certain those episodes are finished. I think the most we'll get is a this episode is dedicated to Chad McQueen kind of thing.
Sure, sure. Um, one
Um,
one of the things I wanted to also bring up, because I think in our episode we didn't get to show at the beginning, we talked about James Earl Jones, right? But we didn't actually have it on the last one, did we? That we recorded?
yeah, we talked about it in the last episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool. I couldn't remember if we had done it on the one that didn't come out, or if it was the one that did. So
get it, Landon. I forgot to record.
not a dig, not a dig.
I feel,
Just trying to be honoring James Earl Jones.
you know, Landon, true friends stab you in the front. All right.
I'll try to be
Um,
more direct with my stabbing from now
thank you.
on.
Okay, let's move on to the recommendation corner. Lighten the mood a little bit. This week, I've got a couple of recommendations for our horror loving listeners out there. First up, there is a new film starring James McAvoy. I believe it's already out in theaters called See No Evil.
Mm,
From what I've seen, it looks absolutely terrifying in the
yes.
best way possible. McAvoy just looks unhinged,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to see him tackle another horror role after Split and Glass. I think that man, can the dude again, unsung hero in acting. I don't know how he didn't get nominated for something after Split,
No.
but the man can play some horror.
No. Yeah. Yeah. For
Um, and for those of you who enjoyed last year's surprise hit Smile, there's a sequel that's coming out in October. I believe Naomi Scott is in the lead role, and if it's anything like the first one, it's going to be creepy. It's going to be super creepy. Did you watch Smile?
yeah. Yeah. It was like it was good. I mean, I didn't really like. I was like, okay, you know.
Well, for someone who doesn't do facial expressions very well, it really got to me. What are you smiling at?
Yeah. Stop that. Wipe that smile off your face.
Before I give you something to smile about.
Oh man.
Any recommendations from you this week?
No, no, I think I would have probably said that that's probably my most anticipated movie I want to watch next would be that. I also started watching Crisis of Infinite Earths Part 1 on HBO, or sorry, on Max. And I think they're gonna have three, right? So they have two out, the first one, the second one. So started
Three-part
watching the
movie.
first one with my son, and pretty good so far. It's
Yeah.
nice to hear. My son's name is Jensen, and which we named after Jensen Ackles. So to have Jensen Ackles as the Batman voice is kind of cool.
Oh, he does Batman in this one.
Yeah.
Nice. I haven't had a chance to watch this new interpretation of Crisis. But I've seen some of the clips from it and it looks really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, I have not seen any of the movies that they consider part of this new animated universe. I guess you can't call it new anymore if they're ending it with Crisis. But they were calling it the Tomorrowverse because it started with Superman, the Man of Tomorrow, that movie that came out. And before that, it had been um, the DC, I guess, animated universe where it really took over the New 52
Yeah.
there for a while. But yeah, I haven't seen any of the movies. There's something like 20 of them in this series. So I'll tell you what, DC does a really great job with their animated films.
Animated. That's it. That's really it. That's it.
Yeah. Until we get Superman next year from James Gunn.
We'll see.
Believe, believe. All right, it's time for our favorite part of the show, hearing from you, our awesome audience. Uh, what is this? This is not. I'm sorry. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Not that we're criticizing.
Not that we're criticizing at all. That is made up, and we're not going to talk about that.
Where we stand.
Instead, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the audience interaction that exists. Our good friend Noah actually left a comment on Spotify.
Let's hear it.
He says, all caps, Sydney as a guest host. What a plot twist. So obviously he left this message on our Barbie episode. Uh, he said, I actually haven't seen this movie yet, but he did love the I'm Just Ken at the Oscars.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
It's good to see.
first off, Noah, thanks for leaving a comment. And dude, you're a real MVP. You're constantly leaving comments out there. Um, yeah, I think if you have a chance to see Barbie, go ahead. It's not bad, right? A,
Worth it.
a teenage boy can enjoy it just as much as a teenage girl, right?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Learn
And if
learn from
nothing else,
Ken's
you get the
mistakes.
Ken song again.
Yeah. Learn from Ken's mistakes.
That's right. That's right. All right. Yeah, seriously. We do love hearing from all of you guys. Everyone out there who takes the time to watch the show, to listen to it, whatever that may be. Keep on keeping on. And all right, that's about it for this episode of the No Show. Before we go, we're gonna tease you a little bit with what's coming up in our next episode. We're going to take a deep dive into a fascinating ad campaign from AT&T way back in 1993. So we're turning back the clocks, guys. It turns out they managed to predict a lot of the amazing technology that we take for granted today. So it's going to be a wild ride through the past and into the future. So make sure you tune in. Landon, how do you feel about looking back at the past to view our future?
You know, when I think about Star Trek having the little pads and
Hmm.
then fast forward to the future with everybody having iPads and stuff, I think to myself, the imagination, just having the imagination and then you just apply that will and want and resource and anything can happen.
That's right. All right. As always, want to thank our listeners and viewers for joining us today. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode. And with that, we'll leave you with our usual sign off. Have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
See ya.